Great. Okay, so I suppose we'll wait just a couple more minutes while people start to drop in. And I assume people will be somewhat coming and going throughout the session. So this is my very first live session on Instagram and Facebook. So hopefully I have the tech right. Hi everyone, it's so nice to see people dropping in. Yeah, so my name's Alice, for anyone who doesn't know me, which it looks like a few people who I don't recognise. And I'm a trauma-informed facilitator who's currently residing in Berlin. So for many of you, it's the afternoon. But for me, it's 8:30 in the morning, so I'm just getting my day started. So it's really amazing that we can connect across the world in this way. It's really, really interesting time for that, I suppose. Today I'll be offering a short sort of 25-minute to half an hour practice, an embodied mindfulness practice that's really exploring the methods in which, or the ways in which we can lean into a sense of ease. And this is a practice that I offer quite regularly with some of the techniques that I find quite effective and useful within facilitation, but also within my own practice. And particularly during this time that we're in, recognizing that often ease is something that is a bit fleeting and possibly something we need to invite in a little more often. So we may just get started and then people can arrive in their own time and can come and go as they like. So as we move through this practice, just knowing that really everything is an invitation, and so you're welcome to do as much or as little as you like. You're welcome to tune into and tune out of my voice as you like as well. And so just really working within your own window of tolerance and with your own capacity for today, and knowing that whatever it is that however it is that you want this practice to, or you allow this practice to unfold for yourself, is totally fine. It's really, really about you. So if you are following along, if you are interested in exploring this practice, I'll just allow a few moments to settle your body. And so that might involve a few little movements and adjustments, maybe some neck rolls or stretches, a yawn perhaps. You might be allowing your eyes to close, or you might find it more useful to have your eyes open, possibly exploring what it's like to soften your gaze, to lower your eyes a little perhaps. Just moving through whatever process allows you to land in the moment. Perhaps using these little movements or deep breaths or intentional methods of softening as an invitation for our attention to settle into the moment. Maybe just inviting your jaw, your shoulders, your eyes to soften. Just taking a moment to acknowledge the different places around the world that we might all be connecting from. Perhaps taking a moment to acknowledge the land that you're on and any caretakers of that land that you might be aware of. Acknowledging that each place we reside in comes with its own rich history, in the same way that we come to each moment with our own rich history, with our own depth of experience and wisdom, with an invitation to acknowledge that wisdom within ourselves and within the place that we reside. Additionally, I'd just like to acknowledge the traditional lineages that bring us the wisdom of this practice that I'm offering today, and the many frameworks, the many teachers that are involved in the cultivation of this facilitation. So taking a moment perhaps to just tune or center your attention back towards your own experience, and the invitation is to notice just how all of the parts of you are arriving into this moment. And so you might be noticing perhaps some agitation or expectation. Maybe there's some tiredness or lethargy. Perhaps noticing a busy mind. Perhaps noticing some tension. Perhaps noticing a softer, empty mind, or a sense of ease already arising. And just wondering perhaps what it would be like to welcome all of these different parts. Spending a little moment acknowledging anything that needs or feels as though it needs to be held a little or tended to, maybe with a breath, maybe with attention, maybe with a word. As best we can, just giving ourselves permission to arrive as we are, to meet ourselves where we are at in this moment. Perhaps taking an intentional moment just to turn focus to the space of the mind, with the invitation to see what it would be like to, almost like we're turning down the volume on the dialogue that might be arising. Is there a way we can allow our thoughts to be present without needing to get tangled up in the content? Allowing them to arise and to shift and change as they naturally will. In a sense, giving them permission to be here. The invitation from here is to shift our attention to the field of the body. And one of the ways we might do that is with some intentional movement. It could be a wiggle of fingers and toes. It could be some stretching movements or neck rolls, as we did before. Another way could be to tune into points of contact. And so that might be the points at which your body meets the surface beneath you, whether that's the floor or a prop or a chair. Perhaps tuning your attention to the points at which your body meets itself. So that could be your arms down by your sides or your hands in your lap. Maybe it's the point where your lips meet one another or where your eyelids meet one another. Is there a way you could feel into the sensation of those points of contact? Perhaps a sense of gentle pressure. You might even explore what it's like with some intentional contact, perhaps placing your hands against your torso somewhere, or even resting on your head. Possibly seeing what it feels like to increase that sense of pressure, maybe about 5%. Seeing if that increases tangibility for a sensory reference or not. This could be a place of support that you're welcome to return to at any time throughout the practice. Knowing that if anything that arises that feels too big for today, that you have the freedom and agency to say, no thanks, not today, and to change your point of focus, to discontinue your practice at any time for any reason. If you are interested to continue into the practice a little more, the invitation now is to explore what other sensations might be present in your body. So exploring what other sensations, if any, might be present in your body. You might find at this time you naturally want to release your hands if they're resting against your body. So perhaps there are sensations arising in a specific place that you're noticing. Maybe your attention is drawn there. Possibly it's a broader sense, a broader awareness. Your mind, your attention moving around your body from place to place. And possibly there's something that's quite loud or obvious. Maybe there's some more subtle sensations or elements that you can start to explore. What is it that's arising for you in this space? Knowing that sometimes we don't feel much sensation at all. You're welcome to continue exploring sensations as they arise within the container of your body. Another option is to target your attention a little more specifically towards the sensations of breath. The invitation is to take your focus to the place where you experience your breath in your body most vividly. So perhaps there's some sensations of movement in your belly or your chest, perhaps your ribs, your side, or your back body. You might utilize that process of contact once again, placing a hand in one of these locations as best we can, following our intuition about what feels useful moment by moment. Perhaps the sensation is a little smaller, perhaps in your throat or in your nose. A temperature shift, a rhythm, a texture. Is there a way we could invite ourselves to soften? Is there a way we could release resistance and rest back into a sense of ease? Giving ourselves permission as best we can to just watch the rhythm of the breath uninfluenced. Noticing when we impose changes, when we try to breathe a certain way. Just for a few moments, can we allow our body to be breathed? You might find it useful to remain here, perhaps inviting in a sense of curiosity about what's arising. Another option could be to bring in a little bit of movement. So one way you could do that is to work with the fingertips, so perhaps taking your attention to your hands or your fingertips. And you might be working independently of your breath, or you might start to move within the rhythm of your breath. You could explore what it's like to use an inhale to expand your fingers outwards, and an exhale to draw your fingers back together. At this stage, you might feel as though you naturally want to start to lengthen or deepen your breath, so feel free to move with your own intuition about what feels useful, what feels nourishing. What does it feel like to move and to breathe in this way? Is there a way you could invite in a sense of ease to the process? And perhaps there's a movement that feels more useful than movement with the hands. You might like something a little more dramatic, perhaps taking your arms up and down, maybe including a stretch. Perhaps it's a different movement altogether. You might be moving slowly, or you might be moving quickly. This is completely up to you. Perhaps exploring the sensations of expansion on your inhale, and that drawing back in on your exhale. This is often referred to as an embodied breathing practice. We're less focused on how we look or the result of the movement, and a little more focused on the sensations of movement and breath as we breathe in and as we breathe out. Perhaps noticing how we communicate to ourselves as we move and breathe in this way. Maybe there's a way we can just turn down the volume on that dialogue once again. Feel free to change your movement as many times as you like, or to remain with that original movement if it feels most useful to you. Is there a way we can feel into the gross and subtle layers of our experience? What does it feel like to invite in a sense of ease? Perhaps noticing if we can explore the difference between thinking about the movement as compared to experiencing the movement. Thinking about a sensation as opposed to experiencing a sensation. Thinking about the breath as opposed to experiencing the breath. You might like to remain and explore this embodied breathing, this movement process for a little longer. If you're ready to release, you might allow your hands to rest into your lap or to place against your body in contact once again. Moving ourselves back towards a place of rest. You might be noticing perhaps an echo of the movement in your body. Perhaps noticing subtle movements of breath in your body. With anything that arises, sensory or otherwise, you might find it useful to connect with the question, can I be okay with this? And if the answer is yes, maybe a little more curiosity to what it is that's arising. And if the answer is no, perhaps changing your focus, shifting in some way to allow yourself to remain within a space of ease. Knowing likewise that if ease is not accessible today, then that is absolutely okay. There really is no right or wrong experience to have. In these final few moments, if you're interested to explore, perhaps just becoming curious, is there a felt sense of ease? If you are able to make contact with that in your experience, what does it feel like? And if there's no experience of ease, what does that feel like? And possibly just a couple more moments here to explore. As we start to move towards the conclusion of our practice this morning, we might begin just by connecting once again with that sense of contact. It could be your body and the surface beneath you. Perhaps an intentional reference of placing hands on your torso and your body. Exploring that sense of pressure. And as we settle into our final couple of breaths for this practice together, I'd like to share some words from Adrienne Marie Brown, as I think it's a nice reminder of this idea of inviting ease, I suppose. And so she says, "What is easy is sustainable. Birds coast when they can." Knowing that you're welcome to remain, to linger for as long as you like. Another option is perhaps to take a couple of deep breaths. Start to move a little more organically through shoulders and neck. Your eyes are closed, perhaps blinking them open in your own time. And if you're anything like me and you get a little bleary-eyed after meditation, you might explore a little process of tapping. So just taking your fingers and gently tapping around your face. And this can be a nice way to just reinvigorate yourself, particularly if you became quite relaxed. And you might continue into your chest and down your arms or anywhere that feels useful. So thank you very much for sharing your afternoon for some of you, morning for some of you with me, and exploring this practice. And I'd love to hear any comments about your experience or just anything you'd like to share. And I will see you another time. Thank you so much.